Hey, thanks for stopping by Casks-n-Que, where whiskey and barbecue meet. I'm your host, Justin Lloyd, and I have with me today my good friend Henry Turner.
Hello.
We are going to review, what did you bring over?
This is actually the Game of Thrones House Baratheon Lochnagar Scotch. And we're going to try this out today.
Is it a 12-year-old?
Yes, it is. 12-year-old Scotch whiskey.
Is that the only 12, or is that the only aged?
It is the second age statement of the base lineup. The last one that came out was a 15-year-old. This is the oldest of the base 8 that came out, and this is actually a 12-year-old. There's a 9-year-old that we'll review later for the House Lannister.
Okay, well, let's pour it. So the color in the glass, it's really light. I mean, it's a 12-year-old, so I would have expected it to pick up more of a darker color, but this one's really crisp, really light. Not much viscosity there, maybe a little bit. You can see some legs running down the glass, but this one looks really clean, clear, and crisp. So let's nose it and taste it and talk about it. So this one, I've never actually had one of these from this distillery. I'm really excited to try it, but I did do a little research. There was some drama with this one, right? This distillery was burnt down by competitors 2, maybe 3 times. So I was reading through that and I was like, wow, these guys are really serious about their whiskey. So another cool thing worth mentioning about this distillery is it's owned by Diageo, and it's the second smallest distillery that they own.
Oh, nice.
So, that was kind of cool.
All right, so let me jump into a little bit about House Baratheon. They are House Baratheon of Storm's End, and to the best of my knowledge, Storm's End was never actually highlighted in the original series of Game of Thrones. It did show up on the House of the Dragon, but we never went to Storm's End on Game of Thrones. All the photo shoots that were shown of any of the Baratheons were either in King's Landing or they were also at Dragonstone. And believe it or not, the Baratheons had a very short stint on the Iron Throne, being the rulers of the entire kingdom, when that was with Robb Baratheon. And you really can't include his children because they weren't really biologically his children, only his children by name. Yeah. But if you really look at it, it was Robb Baratheon's reign when they were king. And also, the coolest thing about them is they had some really cool or really nice characters in the story, which were Robb Baratheon, Renly Baratheon, and one of my favorites was Stannis Baratheon, because he would always end up correcting you on your grammar whenever you would speak. He was much so a stickler, but it was the thing that you kind of had to respect for him. He had principles and he had his understanding. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, this is a 12-year-old. The ABV on this one, for those folks overseas, it's 40% ABV, so 80 proof. So I don't expect this one to be very hot at all. I expect this to have the classic Highland notes. So let's nose it and taste it and talk about it.
All right. So for me, as I'm going through my Scotch experience, and I know we talked about honey, to me this one tastes like not as sweet, but just an aspect of raw honey that's on this one when I dive into it. Just like if you were out in the field and you extract the raw honey from a beehive, there's just a little bit of that on the nose for me.
I agree. I also get a little bit of brininess and a slight smoke. I mean, it's way in the back.
And honestly, I can't pick up either one of those on this one right now.
Yeah.
Just nothing more than that light, just that raw honey smoke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's real and faint in the distance. But honey forward for sure, I think.
Mm-hmm. And look here, nice viscosity on this one, nice legs on it, Good thickness on the glass, so it's a good looking whiskey.
Yep, let's taste it. That was real velvety on the palate.
Yeah, thin, sweet, nice oak, a little bit of spice. I don't really get any smoke off of that at all. I don't really get any brininess off that at all either. I just get, honestly, a very light hint of sweetness and or honey. And a little bit of some oak and a little bit of spice.
That's exactly what I get.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not complex, but it's not bad. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I keep on searching for something else, but it's just not there.
It's not a high. It's not a high ABV alcohol, so
No.
I don't think there's going to be really a lot we can get out of this. And even with the age statement, I think that oak mid palate is really what's pushing it forward.
I think so too.
But I just don't get anything else out of it except for honey, oak, little spice.
Yep, that's where I am.
So I want to just kind of bring up the availability on this one. I have not seen this specific bottle on the shelf, maybe, but at one store locally, and they did have it a little marked down. This one's got a little bit higher price tag on it because it's for 12 year, but I think I maybe seen this $70 to $90, and it's not a bad deal. And as much as I'm thinking about it and how we're going through, and we're going to rate it here shortly, is I really wouldn't overpay for this one. I think there's some of these scotches have a little bit more flavor punch in them, and this one doesn't have that. So, but you can still find this locally, or some of the Game of Thrones scotches in 3 different stores around the Central Arkansas area, which is going to be Crossroads, a little store called Top 10, and then there's another store called Warehouse in downtown Little Rock.
Yeah.
And then you can still find these online. I'm tracking some of these right now. Not this particular bottle, but I got one I'm looking on Unicorn Auction for $35. So I wouldn't worry about overpaying for these. I think this is something that is a good bottle for you to hunt and a good bottle to add to your experience if you love Game of Thrones, but I wouldn't overpay for it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So I mean, that kind of leads into how we rate these whiskeys, and it's 0 to 10, 0 being terrible, 10 being amazing, excellent. Availability, taste, and value is what we go by. So, Henry?
So availability for this one, still, I'd say probably I've seen less than this, so maybe 4.5 on this for availability. Taste, I'm really not wowed by this one, so 6.5. Value, it's a little bit higher than the other expressions with having the higher age statement, so maybe a 6. I think this one lands right at about a 6 for me, unfortunately. It's going to cost you a little bit more. It's going to be harder to find, and what's inside the bottle is just not earth-shattering.
I'm close to you. I'm a little lower. I'm at a 5.
All right.
With the price point and for what you get out of the bottle. I know it's a 12-year-old, but it's just it falls flat. It's almost like when you, I don't know, if you're drinking a Coke that's been sitting out for too long or something, it's just flat. It just doesn't have the flavor. Mm-hmm. The low ABV, don't like that. I don't know. I hate to be that way, but it's just a very, very average Scotch.
Agreed.
And for too much money. So that's our opinion. We'd love to hear your opinion. Leave them in the comments below. The best way to support us is to like, subscribe, and smash that bell. If you smash the bell, it'll notify you when we upload a new video. Henry, thanks for bringing this by.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next time.
Enjoy watching Game of Thrones.